Very excited to see so many kids out there. Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so happy to see you. You know, Mr. Rogers is one of my heroes if you're a grown-up watching, and I kind of feel like him today because normally when I do this service, there's a whole bunch of screaming kids around me, but today, I'm looking at you through the camera, you're looking at me through your computer or TV screen, but I've got everything I need for a great service. The Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom, it's Shabbat and Rosh Hashana today. Can you believe it? I've got everything I need. I've got my Siddur, my prayer book in front of me. What's my prayer book? These toys are my prayer book. They tell me, in order, what prayer to do. And I have two special friends here. Cantor the horse, he helps me sing, and Shofar the ram. I wonder what Shofar is here to help me do. Is it time yet? Is it time yet? No, Shofar, it is not your time yet. I'll tell you when it is. And by the way, Shabbat, we don't normally use you on Shabbat, but because there's a lot of kids here, we're going to. So just be really patient, Shofar. Cantor the horse, it's your time. It's your time to lead us in singing. Woo! All right. So, let's welcome the new year by saying the Shana Tova Tikatevu. L'shana Tova, L'shana Tova, L'shana Tova Tikatevu, L'shana Tova Tikatevu, Tikatevu, L'shana Tova, L'shana Tova, L'shana Tova. L'shana Tova Tikatevu, a happy new year to you. Tikatevu, the same to you. All right, what a way to start. Kind of hungry. And maybe for the sweet new year, I should dip peaches and honey. What do you think? Peaches and honey for Rosh Hashana. That's not right, Rabbi Bloom. What is it then, Cantor the horse? Well, can't you see right in front of you? Oh, apples and honey. I forgot, because I'm still seeing peaches at the store, and they're so yummy. But apples are yummy too. So let's dip them in honey for a sweet new year. Apples and honey for Rosh Hashana. Apples and honey for Rosh Hashana. A good new year, a sweet new year. Apples and honey for Rosh Hashana. Tapuchi mudvash the Rosh Hashana. Tapuchi mudvash the Rosh Hashana. Shana Tova, Shana Metuka. Tapuchi mudvash the Rosh Hashana. Is it my time yet, Rabbi? Shofar, I told you you have to be patient. It's not your time yet. It's time for the prayers. We're going to start with the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer. I'm reminded that it's the call to prayer because I have a phone here. The call to prayer. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed. All right, so that was the call to prayer. We said we were ready to pray. Now we want to say thank you to God for a whole bunch of things. And some of those things are in the sky, like stars and planets and the moon. But right now, we don't see any stars or any moon or any planets. We see the sun. So let's sing a song about sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much please don't take my sunshine away. And we also want to say thank you to God for the Torah. So thanks God for the Torah. We really appreciate it because that tells us the rules that we're supposed to follow. How many gods again? Gante is going to remind me. Just one. One God. One God. Cover your eyes and say the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel. Hashem, Adonai is our God. Adonai is one. And we're going to love our God with all our heart. All our heart. Ve'ahavta. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. I want to see everybody making their muscles with all your might. Can you do it? Yasher Koach. Is it my time yet? Shofar, I told you you have to be patient. I will tell you when it's your time. How about me? Yes, Cantor. Keep helping me, Cantor the horse. We need lots of singing. You know who else was a great singer and a great dancer? Miriam. Miriam, the prophet. She took a tambourine and she led everybody dancing. All right, so everybody you get up there. I want to see you dancing. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilo osei feleh. Nice dancing. Yeah, good dancing, guys. We saw some pretty great dancing out there, too. All right, so now we want to think about our ancestors, like Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebecca and Jacob and Rachel and Leah. They're our ancestors. And so we're going to say a prayer that thanks them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, our beautiful and important ancestors. So great. All right. And now I'm going to try to get you guys to be super quiet for 25 seconds? What do you think? Can you do it? You can dance for 25 seconds, but can you be quiet for 25 seconds? Little bit of peace and quiet. Let's try. Say shalom bimromav, say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. All right. Is it my time yet? I told you, Shofar, I will tell you when it's your time. So what time is it? What time is it? It's Torah time! Woohoo! It's Torah time! It's Torah time! It is Torah time! It's 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 Torah. It is a tree of life for them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life for them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Nope. All right, I'm going to open up this Torah and see what's inside. I'm going to show you what's inside before I read it. This is what the Torah looks like inside. And I know some of you make your own Torahs at home with Tootsie Rolls or just paper, popsicle sticks. So let me read you just a little bit. V'Adonai pakad et Sarah kasher amar ve'asa Adonai l'Sarah kasher diber v'tahar v'teled Sarah l'Avraham ben Hiskanav l'moed asher diber oto Elohim v'yikra Avraham et shem beno hanolad lo asher yada lo Sarah Yitzchak. I just read something really funny. God told Sarah that she was going to have a baby. Ha! Do you know anyone who might be having a baby? Do you know anyone who's had a baby? It was funny because Sarah thought she was too old to have a baby. But she had a baby. There was a baby in her belly. And when she finally delivered him, what was his name? Isaac. Isaac. You hear that, Isaac Brown? It was Isaac. Just like you. All right. I'm going to cover the Torah. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Story time. Story time. It's about an apple tree. An apple tree. Once upon a time, in an orchard, there was an apple tree. And the apple tree looked up above. And on the branches, it was nighttime and there were stars. And the apple tree thought it was the most beautiful thing that he'd ever seen. And he said, God, when I grow up, can I have stars just like that? I want those stars on my tree. I know those are way up in the sky, but they look like me. Can I have stars like that? And God said, yes, you will have stars, but be patient, apple tree, be patient. Well, a little bit of time passed, and the apple tree grew bigger, and it provided tremendous shade, and people would sit under the apple tree and be very happy. And the apple tree said, God, can I have stars on my branches now? And God said, sorry, not yet. Be patient, little apple tree, be patient. Well, a season passed. And then what happened was the apple tree grew these beautiful blossoms, these beautiful flowers. It was so pretty, and people would pass by and say, that's the prettiest apple tree I've ever seen. And the apple tree said, can I have stars on my branches? And God said, not yet, little apple tree. Be patient. And the apple tree said, but I want stars. I want stars. But no, it wasn't time yet. Well, another season passed. And all of a sudden, the apple tree grew. What apple trees grow? And what's that? Apples. Apples on the apple tree. So you know what happened? The apple tree said, God, I see those apples and people are eating them and they're so yummy and everyone's smiling and saying they're so tasty, but I want stars. And God said, you have to be patient. And the apple tree said, no, I want stars now. And the apple tree got really, really mad and started to shake its branches. And the apple tree shouted and shook and shook and shook, and apples fell off and they cracked open. And what was inside? A star. A star was inside the apple. Apple tree, you were a star all along. and you didn't know it. There's a star inside every one of us. We're tasty anyway, even if you don't open up and see the star, but every one of you is a shining star. And that's the story of the apple tree. And later, I'm going to eat it. And I'm going to dip it in honey. Yum, yum, yum. Is it time yet? Is it time yet? It's almost time, Shofar, but we have to do a dance. Oh yeah, the Macarena dance. The Shana Tova. It goes like this. I'm going to show it to you once, and then I want you to get up and dance with me. It goes like this. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come and join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. All right. Who's ready for that? It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you want it. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova. All right, here's what we did today. We call ourselves to prayer. We thank God for the sky, the sun. We thank God for the Torah. We talked about that there was one God. We love God with all our heart. We sang and danced like the Jewish people when they crossed the sea led by Miriam with our tambourine. We were thankful for our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. We read from the Torah that Sarah was pregnant, that she was going to have a baby, and she laughed. And finally, we did the Shana Tova Macarena dance. So you know what that means it's time for? It's time for you, Shofar. We are going to blow the shofar. First, I'm going to show it to you, but then we're going to move the camera and go outside because I don't want all the stuff that gets all over the place from the shofar in here. So, here it is. Now, in case you are a grown-up and you are watching the children's service, there's going to be almost 10-minute break between this children's service and the grown service. We're still here. You don't need to click off. Might be time to go get a snack, because you can. If you were here, you couldn't. Well, you might have snuck one in, but there's really no eating in the synagogue. But you're at your house, you can eat. All right, so I'm going to go out. The camera's going to follow me, and I'm going to do the shofar blows. I think you can see me. Tekiah. Shivarim. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah. Different sounds. One more time, let's do the dance. It's time for the new year. We call it Rosh Hashana. Come join our dance. We know that you wanna. Time to say you're sorry before the year is over. Hey, Shana Tova, Lishana Tova, Lishana Tova, Lishana Tova, Tikatehu. A happy new year to you. Tikatehu, the same to you. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, whether you're from our synagogue here at Temple Beth Abraham, friends, guests, extended family members. We're very, very happy that you're here. Of course, it is a little bit with a heavy heart for many of the people watching today. I know that we enter 5781 in the Jewish calendar with the death of the iconic and just amazing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I just want to acknowledge that. The year was heavy enough already, and this perhaps made it even more so. Sign of a righteous person who dies on Rosh Hashana, living out the fullness of yet another year. So, in any case, we're still commanded to celebrate, and that is what we're going to do today. Even though we're a handful of people in a gigantic room that seats 800, lots on our minds, we are here to celebrate the new year. I'm going to begin with a reading on page 40. Page 40. And just in case you don't have, not that you can get it by now, but this is the book we're using, the Machzor Lev Shalem. The Bible relates Adam, a single human being, as the ancestor of all humanity. This teaches us that to destroy a single life is to destroy an entire world, even as to save a single life is to save an entire world. That all people have a common ancestor should make for peace, since no one can say to anyone else, my ancestor was greater than yours. That humanity began with a single human being is an answer to heretics who could claim the existence of more than one creator. That humanity began with a single being proclaims forever the greatness of the Holy One. For humans stamp many coins with one die and they all look alike, but the Holy One stamped every human being with the die of Adam, yet no person is like any other. Therefore, every human being must declare, it is for my sake that the world was created. We're going to turn to page 69. I'm going to actually pan the room here. We're going to have the camera look at all these empty seats. And if you are watching and this is one of your seats, well, you get to see it for just a moment. And then Mark Fickus is going to lead us, starting on page 69. We're jumping right into Shacharit. The service is significantly abbreviated because it is hard to watch for several hours online. Hopefully today's service will end between 11:30 and 12. So we're going to be on page 69, and in just a moment, again, Mark Fickus, Pastor President of the congregation, will be leading us with Ha'el, top of page 69. He's going to wait while we pan the room, and you can imagine these faces here. It's a slow pad. And by the way, I know a lot of synagogues are pre-recording. This is live with all the foibles that may mean. We're going to do the best we can. Thank you, Josh Mailman, for leading us, guiding us, producing us, recording us, filming us, streaming us. All right, here we go, page 69.
ובלשון חסידים תתקדש, וכקדושים תתעלה. שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, להומם, להדר, לברך ולהוקלץ, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך. ישתבח שמך מלכנו. ברכות והונאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל הדודות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי שמחה, מלך מלכי העולמים.
Bottom of page 70, Hatzikash.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך ועלמא תברכותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלו בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמך מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיא. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קדושה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה גם ירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Please rise for the Baruch, page 71.
Baruch et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam יוצא אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. עולם יוצא חיים, אורות מאוכל המוויין.
We may be seated and we jump to page 75, the last two lines, Or Chadash on 75.
אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהלאות, ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Amen. 76.
אהבה רבה נתנה. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו פנינו לארצנו. כי על כל ישועות אתה, ובאנו בחרנו מכל ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות יפה וליפתך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Amen. 77.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzalecha, היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Amen.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We turn now to the top of page 80, just before Micha Mocha.
תהילה בעליון ברוך ומבורך משה ועמו בני ישראל לכנו שישים בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדע בקודש נורא תהילות עושה שירה חדשה שבחרו גאולים לשמחה על שפת חיים יחד כולם הודו המליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה ואחד ישראל.
Please rise.
ובטחינו מלכה יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel.
On page 81, we begin the Amidah out loud and together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ahel Hagadol Hagibor ve'anoha El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'koneh HaKol Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot U'mevi Goel Lifneihem Le'man Shemo Ve'ah Misor Chachamim U'Navanim U'Milemedat Mevinim Eftefafim V'Tefila U'V'Tachanonim Lechalot U'Chanet Ve'Melech Malchei HaMlachim Va'Adonai Adonim Zochrenu L'Ephraim Melech Hafetz B'Chaim B'Chofenu B'Sefer HaChaim L'Ma'ancha Elohim Chaim Melech Ozer U'Fukir Moshe U'Magen Baruch Adonai Magen Avraham U'Poket Sarah Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechai Metim Ata Le'Hoshia Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed Mechai Metim B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Ofer Cholim U'Matir Asurim U'Mkayem Emunato L'Shenei Afar Michal Mochabav Yehud U'Mido Melach Melech Mehemi U'Chayeh U'Matzmiach Yeshua Michal ותשועה לחיים ורחמים. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. ואתה קדוש יושב על תהילות ישראל.
We remain standing and turn to page 86 for the Kedusha.
ובכן הלכת לקדושת יתה אלוהינו מלך. נקדש את שמך לעולם כשם שמקישים אותו בשמי מעון. ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך עולת כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מכנסיים לעומת צרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. במקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם בעת תשכון. תתקדש ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים יוחד, בתוך ירושלים יוחד לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. בינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נקי גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש לשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה.
We continue silently pages 87 through 91. You add anything that's in parentheses because that is done on Shabbat.
בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל. לחיים טובים, לחיים טובים ולשלום.
Kaddish Shalem, page 94.
יפקדה ויתקדש שמך רבה, ילמד יברכת וימליך מלכותך, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בעגל ובזמן קריב ועמהו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר וירומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא ועמהו.
Amen.
תקבל צאתהון ובאותכון בכל ישראל, קודם ובהון דבישמיא ועמהו.
Amen.
יהי שלום רבה מן שמיא, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועמהו.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל ועמהו.
Amen. Yasher Koach.
Yeah.
Thank you to Mark Figgis for leading us so beautifully in Shacharit. Now, this is earlier than we normally do it, but at this time we're going to call upon our president, David Goodwin, to make some remarks and perhaps introduce himself to some of you. It's been a delight already to work with him. And thank you, David, for joining us this morning.
And I get to take my mask off. Very exciting. Well, Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova, Good Yantif. I, alas, also will have to start by talking about Justice Ginsburg, if but briefly. She was not just a great American, but she was probably the greatest American Jew, possibly the greatest Jew in the world. I never met her in the sense of speaking with her personally or shaking her hand, but she and I have both been devoted members of the American Law Institute, she for far longer than I. And every year I would attend the annual conference in Washington, D.C., and every year she would speak. Most years she would introduce another justice and then hand the podium over to the other justice. And in each year, it was almost always a conservative justice. Justice Kennedy, Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Scalia. And in each instance, there was this very elderly, very frail lady being helped up to the platform, very elegant. And then she would open her mouth and she was witty, she was brilliant, and most important, she was obviously beloved of all of the justices on the court. And the last time I saw her speak, which was a year ago May, she actually was the speaker. She was given an award and she was the speaker. And she mentioned that when she was confirmed on the Supreme Court back in 1993, she was confirmed by a vote of 96-4. And she said she was the last justice who was essentially not the subject of partisan debate. And her wish at the end of the speech was that going forward, we could resume a life in which justices on the Supreme Court, supported by all political parties and all Americans, could be nominated and confirmed, and made that happen in 5781. Now, a long-standing tradition of the president's speech on Rosh Hashana is to talk about the state of the congregation, which I'm pleased to say is good, all things considered, given what the world's been going through the past 6 months. We finished our fiscal year that ended on July 1st with a balanced budget, thanks in great part to the great, great generosity of our members, that's you, people watching, who stepped up in this time of crisis and supported our congregation. We have no debt. The Next Big Thing project has been paid off. Our operations are well managed by Raina Arnold and her staff. As to the balance sheets, the revenues have been holding fairly steady. Our expenses are carefully watched. Our membership numbers are solid. We have another balanced budget projected for this coming year. Thanks again to the continued generosity of our members and also to a PPP loan, which has been of tremendous assistance. And thanks again also to Susan Simon and Rachel Fennes. We have 54 children enrolled in the GON who attend in person. We have 99 children in the Beit Sefer attending virtually, both very close to the numbers we would have had if the virus hadn't occurred. And then, as you all know, the Rabbi has risen to the occasion, presiding virtually or sometimes in person, albeit socially distanced, over weddings, b'nai mitzvah, funerals, shivas, and all the other activities of the congregation. And he's given some of the best and the most moving drashes I've ever heard, and this from a rabbi who has already set a very high bar. We continue to hold virtual Shabbat services on Friday night and Saturday mornings with hundreds of people attending, whether on YouTube or Facebook or on the audio link on the TBA website. And if you haven't been joining us regularly for services, please do join. They're lovely, and for those of you like me who are type A people, they're short. We also continue our Women of TBA and Men's Club activities. We have a film club, education classes, guest speakers, youth organizations, fundraising activities, and many other things. In other words, our congregation lives and thrives, albeit virtually. And as the rabbi said last night, this is a large, close, supportive community. And perhaps most important, you, our members, have also risen to the occasion with your support over the past very, very difficult 6 months for our local community, for the state of California, for the country, for the world, and we thank you. If you're watching and have not joined Temple Beth Abraham, please do so. And if you're from out of state, we actually have a special membership rate for out-of-state residents, and some out-of-state residents have indeed joined us. Now, this is a serious year, and I'd like to say a few serious things. I'd like some wishes for the new year. And I'd like to start with the virus, which is the rabbi's theme for these high holidays. And it's no surprise to anyone if I say that the next 6 months are going to be pretty critical. Will we in the next 6 months have a vaccine that works? And if it works, will enough people agree to be vaccinated that we can resume normal life? What happens if we don't have a vaccine that works? Or what happens if we have a vaccine, but too many people refuse to be vaccinated? Do we as a society have the collective will to change how we live and end the virus? This, of course, is the key challenge in 5781. And may we all be able to gather together in person for Rosh Hashana 5782. And next, and it's stunning that everything that's happened in my lifetime, here we are in 2020, and the police are still murdering Black men and women and other people of color. It's time for that to end. May it end in 5781. And then global warming. And again, forgive me for dwelling on the serious, but this is serious because it was just last week that we in Oakland had a day without daylight. Those of you who heard the rabbi's drash last Shabbat will recall his comment about the color orange, which we used to think of as signifying light and warmth. But that day last week, I think a week ago Wednesday, orange meant darkness and discomfort in one of the most bizarre days of all of our lives. We had a day without daylight in a month without fresh air, after a series of heat waves, including a day with temperatures above 100 here in Oakland. And I knew intellectually that the climate had changed because when I was young, it started raining in late September or early October. whereas last year we didn't have rain until late November or early December. Still, I had perhaps naively assumed that dealing with global warming would really be something that my grandchildren would have to cope with. But now I think we all understand that this is something that we need to deal with now. And in this coming year, 5781, may we have leaders committed to acting so that our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren have a planet to live on. And the economy. Some people, the ones who are heavily invested in the stock market, are doing well, but almost everyone else is not. And the fact that the Senate has refused to debate, let alone vote on a second bailout bill, is shameful. May things get better in 5781. I could go on with other wishes. For example, wishing that the A's would win the World Series. Apologies to the rabbi on that one. But I'd like to conclude with another serious topic, which is the undeniable fact that we as Jews face the challenge of anti-Semitism from the far right, from the far left, from parts of the Muslim world, and to my great and especially deep regret and concern, from students and faculty at many universities across the country, including San Francisco State, where I personally have been involved on a pro bono efforts to try to defeat anti-Semitism on campus, UC Davis, and UC Berkeley. And all of this is occurring with very little response from many of the leaders of the Jewish community. When John Mindanao hung anti-Semitic signs over the 405 freeway in Los Angeles just last month, the Jewish community stood silent. Nor are we speaking up when Orthodox Jews are routinely assaulted in Brooklyn, when Jewish institutions are attacked, like the Chabad House in Delaware that was firebombed last month, or when the student vice president at UCLA was forced to resign because she refused to condemn Israel, when students at UC Berkeley are pushed out of office in the student union, or when Deshaun Jackson posted anti-Semitic comments in social media, although, as the rabbi mentioned in his drosh several weeks ago, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, bless him, did speak up. The good news is that our congregation did speak up when the Board of Education of the City of Oakland debated whether to adopt an ethnic studies program that was blatantly anti-Semitic, but we lost rather badly in a shameful vote at 3 a.m., a time when no vote should ever be taken by a governing body. And our British brethren did achieve a victory when Jeremy Corbyn, the first openly anti-Semitic leader of a major political party in an English-speaking country, was forced to resign after the British voters overwhelmingly rejected his outspoken anti-Semitism in last fall's election. May this year, 5781, be a year in which we elect public servants who stop tolerating and encouraging anti-Semitism, the year in which each of us gains the courage to speak out, the year in which we start to make progress on this scourge that threatens all of us and all of our families. And may at least one or two of these wishes come true. Shabbat Shalom, Gamar Hatima Tova. May you and your loved ones be sealed in the book of life for a good and sweet new year.
Yasher Koach. Thank you so much, David, and very much looking forward to working with you over the coming months and years ahead. All right, we're going to now turn to the Torah service. Azanit Yael Krieger is here. It's going to be, we're going to abbreviate that significantly as well. We're going to start at the bottom of page 96. Then, very shortly thereafter, we're going to walk outside. The Torahs are waiting for us. So are a whole bunch of teens and their families. And we're going to read Torah out there. The camera's going to try to follow you. There may be a pause. You may see feet. You may see the sky. Who knows? Hopefully it won't cut out. If it does, just come right back on. It'll be taken care of. Page 96, Vayehi Binsoah.
Vayehi Binsoah Aharon Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai V'yafutzu oivecha V'yanusu ושנאך מפניך, כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו.
Page 98.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'Noah Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'Norah Shemo.
Galul Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
All right, here we go.
Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanesach v'hahod, ki tohu b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, ki tohu
Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtakavu, le'adam raglav kadoshu, romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtakavu,
Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
Around. It's a beautiful sight in all seriousness. I'm very moved by you being here. I want to just appreciate you and thank you for reading Torah, learning Torah, and just to see the families gather around the thing is very special, I think, to all of us, and it will be to everybody else as well who are watching from YouTube and Facebook, etc. And we never envisioned the courtyard being used quite like this, and yet here we are. You've already been instructed. We're going to leave our masks on until it's your time to read. If you can get the microphone close to your mouth, that would be wonderful. Especially for the Torah readers, for the Aliyah people, not as important that they hear you, but nevertheless, that's what we're going to do. Are we ready to go? All right. So the Torah portion today, our Torah reading, is found on page 100. Page 100 in our Machzor here, page 100. I'm going to go get where the camera is. So our Torah reading is on page 100 here in the Machzor. And the portion is Genesis 21, God taking note of Sarah, having the child that she had and Abraham had longed for, but immediately it leads to conflict with Hagar, Isaac, and Ishmael. So the first reading is, like I said, on page 100. It is Genesis 21, verses 1 through 4, includes the circumcision of Isaac. And our first Torah reader is Natalie Mendelson. Ya'amdu Kohanim Mishpachat Mendelson.
I think it's going to it takes 45 seconds, but I can see it better here. She just talks slightly. God. Slightly. Yeah, just...
Sorry about that. Little feedback there, because I walked in front of the speaker. And they're still getting that, so sorry about that. All right, the second Aliyah, we're verse 5, 100 years old, reminder of the laughter. We call upon Aurora Campbell for the second reading, and for at least part of the Campbell family for the second Aliyah. Campbell Shani.
Amen. Abraham ben Hashana. Israel Lord Yishatana. Batone Sara. Tehor Atali Erechi. Batone Yitzchakri. Batone Bini Abraham. Bini Sahar. Shilai Ben Misunan. Kaisa hayala kaitana, kaya asaba kami sekado, teyo hidana kita.
Amen. And so Yashakoa, if you're not familiar with the high holiday trope, that's what you're hearing. If you are watching and you've never heard this particular trope, the way that the Torah is chanted, it's specific to the high holidays. For the third Aliyah, we are talking about Sarah again and Hagar. And Abraham asks, or rather Sarah asks Abraham to cast her out. For the third Torah, we call upon Hattie Gutkin and the Gutkin family for the Aliyah. Ya'amdu Mishpachat Gutkin Shlishi.
Amen. Amen. Sarah, Atenadar mitzvit, Asher yada le'Abraham mitzaheh. Vadchomer Abraham daresh, ha'amachazo ve'etena, ki lo yidashtem ha'amanazot, im beni im Yitzhak. וירא הדבר מאוד בעיני אברהם עוד פניו. ויאמר אלוהים אל אברהם אל יגע בין עיניך אל פניו ימצאך כל אשר תאמר אליך שרה שמה בכורה כי יצחק יקרא לך זרע. Amen.
Yashakoa. All right, now we're going back, I believe, the station, because we have the other Campbell twin. Amalia will be reading the fourth Aliyah, and what we have here is, sorry about that. What we have here is that a great nation will be made out of Ishmael and his seed as well. Ya'amdu Mishpachat Campbell Rabbi.
Amen. וגם אצל העמל גויסנו תזרחו ויסכים אברהם בבוקר ויקחם בהימת מים ויצא ההדר שם על שכמה ויתהיו וישחק ותלך ותיקח ויבא באשה ויפלו המים מן ההרת ויתשלך את הילד תחת אחר הסיפים ותלך ותשאר מנגד Yod, Bate, Shavni Nede, Betisav Torah Bate, Vayishma Elohim, Etzavana, Vayakirah, Baruch Elohim, Vayadon Hashemayim, Vayamara Malachador, Elohim, Kishama Elohim, Etzavana, Vayashir, Tusham.
All right, we are now on the fifth Aliyah, where we have Hagar and Ishmael in trouble, as she just doesn't want to live anymore, but then a miraculous well of water appears before her. We have for this next Aliyah, we have Tamar Bryant, and I'm very proud, of course, of all our teams. The last three who led are all new this year. For the first time, they are 8th graders. Tamar and following her Shana are 10th graders. They'll be reading, and I want to especially thank Natalie Mendelson, who is a senior now and has read all these years since her bat mitzvah, 8th through 12th grade. Yasher koach to you and to all of you. Once again, we're on page 101. We are on verse 18. Come on. Ta'amdu mishpachat free brightness.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah, Baruch Adonai Hamborah Olam Vaed, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Yumei et hana'ah, v'hachaziti et yadeh, Rosh, Shivur gadol atimenu, Vayikach Elohim et eineha, v'atzerech b'mayim, v'atzerech, v'atzmalei et hachemet mayim, v'atash et hanar. Vayeti Elohim et hanar, vayigar, vayeshev b'midbar, vayehi Yovek hashar, vayeshev b'midbar Paran, v'tikach lo imo, isha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Yasher koach. Yasher koach. We are now on the 6th Aliyah. We're on page 102 now. We now have a deal between Abimelech and Abraham, and we call upon Shana Silverswide to read the Torah. Ya'amdu mishpachat Silverswide Yishi.
Amen. Vayahida Elitahi. Vayomer Avimelech. Ufichot Tziva'ot Avraham Emor. Avinucha. B'chol asher ata oseh. Vayata. Kishavali Elohim Vina. Intisori. Elohim. החסד אשר ציפי מחרתך עמדי ועם הארץ אשר גרת בה ויאמר בכם אנוכי שובע והושיע אברהם את אבימלך על אודות המים אשר גזלו אבי אבימלך ויאמר אבימלך לא ידעתי יסוד הדבר הזה וגם אתה לא הגעת לי לא שמעתי אותי היום וכך אברהם שהוא בקר ויצא לאבימלך ויחלטו שניהם בריא
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'drachim. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Yashatoah. And now we get to the ninth grader. So Jonah Abrami will be reading the next passage, the seventh Aliyah, about the 7 years of the flock and the oath sworn at Beersheba, which gives the city its name. Ya'amdu mishpachat Abrami shvi'i. And he has the unenviable task of reading from the tiniest Torah. Amen. Vayasev Abraham et Sheva Yisod Hason Levad Hen. Vayomer Avimelech el Abraham Ma Heina Sheva Kavasot Ha'elech Asher Hitzakta Levadana Vayomer Ki et Sheva Kevaso Tikach Miadi Ba'avor Tieli Le'eda Ki Chafarti et Haver Hazo Okay Kara Lamakom hahu be'ershava ki sham nishbe'u shnehem vayifertu v'rishi v'ershava vayakom avimelech u'tichol sarshiva'o vayashuvu el eretz Plishtim vayikach Eshel Beersheva, Vayikra Sham, B'Shem Adonai El Olam, Vayagor Avraham, Be'eretz Plishtim, Yamim Rabim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai, notei haTorah.
Yashakoach, I'm going to recite the Hashana now before the Makir reading. Yikra Sheme Rabba, Yamadi Bakirte Hamlet Mafute Bechaye, Honu Yomehon, Ukayeda Kobe Israel, Bagala, Ubizman Kari Himeru, Amen. Yehi Shme Rabba Mevora, Meolam Lo Meomaya Yifara. Ipara, Ishtaba, Ipari Mandina, Sevi, Sada, Vitale, Vitala, Shmeri Krisha, Retu, Laela, Miko Bekata, Beshirata, Usehata, Venefemata, Dami, Randialma, Imeru, Amen. Our final Torah reading is on page 106, and the person reciting the Haftarah will not be doing the Aliyah because of the social distancing considerations. Instead, it will be the family of our reader, Ari Goldberg, representing the 11th grade, with every grade here represented. Page 106, it's Numbers chapter 29, verses 1 through 6, the additional offerings to be brought on the special cod. Mispahat Goldberg, Amakir. Amen. Vachodesh Hashvi'i, B'chag HaChodesh, Yikachodesh yeh lachem, K'melechet avodah lo ta'asu, Yom Teruah yeh lachem. V'asitzem olah l'reach mikoach la'Adonai, Chag v'machar v'chad ha'elachad. Shivasi Mutana Shivasi Sunim Pasam Solatula Hashana Shoka Sunim Mahashim Sunim Ayo Isagona Sada Saraka Shivasa Shivasi Ikizunaka Kaka Swakata Halakan Nirvana Lata Kata Sela Katamid Kata Nishahan Kamishatan Lagayat Nikoa Nisha Adonai. Amen. Yashakoa. All right, unbelievable. What incredible scenes we have. Beautifully, really perfectly read Torah under the craziest of circumstances. Normally, as I've mentioned already, we have two secret Torah on this day. 7 people read from one of them. 1 person reads from the other. Today we have all 7 Torah, all 7 secret Torah and use. Unfortunately, we had twins, 2 people from the same family, so we could reuse one of the Torahs. Just beautifully read and inspired for all of us. With the Torah still out, I'm now going to read a list of names of those who are sick in our community. I'm thinking especially today of Scott Lawrence, Shoshana Bat Shulamit Leah, Dalia Bat Rachel, Hazad Shlomo Natan Ben Nechama, that's Senator Kaplan, who has made it to rehab. He is at a rehab facility in San Francisco. He continues to heal, albeit very, very slowly. Tina Sarah Bat Mariam Hana, Barbara Rose, Esther Bat Haika, Steve Ben Fegela, Linda Doan, Hannah Bat Farrell, Moshe Ben Shlomo HaKohen Babela, Simcha Simento, Lou Burrow, Dvorah Bat Abraham Basara, Abby Faber, Hannah Richter Bat Tovalea, Ilya Oak, Yechiel Ben Eliza, Reuben Ben Hana, Arlene Miller, Pastor Karen Stepko, Karina Golabat Hara Yehuda C, Leah Hudit Bat Shana, Todd Schulman, Ken Cohen, Ingvar Bat Moshe, Leonard Katz, Jerry Susan, and Mike Weinberg, Yehoshua Ben Malka Tova, David Perez, C. Ben Shimon, Yehudit Bat Yitzhak C. Bashir Ami. If you have any other names of those who are ill, please just say them out loud at this time, whether here or at home. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Ishebera imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. May we continue to be with them in their time of need. I'm not going to ask for Hagba and Galila. We are not going to attempt to lift any of these Torahs. You'll actually be addressing them as some of us go back upstairs for our Haftarah reading. And when we get back upstairs in the sanctuary, for those who are watching, there will be a slight delay. You might see feet, sky, plants, bushes, walls, whatever it is. It might even back out. There might be sound adjustments. Please stay with us. When we get back in there, we're going to recite the Haftarah, then it will be sermon and Musaf. Yasser Koach, once again, thank you so much to our family. That's unbelievable. Seriously, Ruth, for doing this. All right, we're heading back in now.
Mic is on.
All right. We're back in the sanctuary. And Galvin Fickus is at the same podium that her father, one of her dads, led Shacharit on. So same space. And she's going to read our Haftarah from 1 Samuel. It's on page 108. Page 108 in our Machzor. And it is the story of Hannah. Hannah, who begged for a child, eventually had one, Shmuel, who she dedicated to the priesthood. Once again, page 108.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar yimim tovim, eretz v'divreim hanemarim be'emet, baruch atah Adonai, halofer b'Torah, u'Moshe avdo, u'Yisrael amo, u'Yeh hamet v'tzedek. Vayehi Yishachar min haramatayim Sofi נשים, שם אחת חנה, ושם השני פינה, ויהי לפינה ילדים, ולקרניים ילדים. וישאבו מרום מימים ימימה, להשתחוות ולזבוח לאדוני צבאות בשילה. ושם שני בני עלי, חותני ופנחס כהנים לאדוני. ויהי היום ויזבח אלחנה ונתן לפנינה אשתו וכל בניה ובנותיה מנות. ולחנה ייתן מנחת אפיים, כי אלחנה אב באדוני סגר רחמן. וכי עשת עשרתה גם כעס בעבור הרימה, כי סגר אדוני יד רחמן. וכן יעשה שנה ושנה לידי עלותה בבית אדוני, כן תכיסנה ותבכה לא תאכל. ויאמר לה אלקנה אישה, חנה למה תבכי, ולמה לא תאכלי, ולמה רע לבבך, הלא אנוכי טוב לך מעשרה בנים. ותקום חנה אחרי אוכלה בשילה, ואחרי שתו עלי הכהן יושב על הכיסא על מזוזת היכל אדוני. והיא מרה נפש ותתפלל על אדוני וכה תבכה, ותיטול נדר ותאמר אדוני צבאות אמור תראה בעמי אמתך, וזכרתני ולא תשכח את אמתך, ונתת לאמתך זרע נשים, ונתתי לאדוני כל ימי חייו ומורה לירדה על ראשו. והיה כי רצה להתפלל לפני אדוני, עלי שמר את פיה. וחנה היא מדברת על ליבה, רק שפתיה נאות, וקולה לא ישמע, ויחשביה עלי שיכורה. ויאמר לה עלי, עד מתי תשקרי, הסיר דינך מעלי. ותן חנה ותאמר לו אדוני, אישה כשרוח אנוכי, ויין ושחר לא שתיתי, אשפוך את נפשי לפני אדוני. אל תיתן את אמתך לפני בסיה, כי מרוב תחי. וחסי דיברתי את פנה, ויען עלי, ויאמר לכי לשלום, אלוהי ישראל, ייתן את שאלתך אשר שאל מימו, ותאמר תמצא שפתך. כן בעיניך, ותלך האישה לדרכה ותאכל, פניה לא היו לה עוד. וישכימו בבוקר, וישתחוו לפני אדוני, וישובו, ויבואו אל ביתם הרמצה, וידע אלקנה אשתו, ויזכר אדוני. ויהי לתקופות הימים, ותר חנה ותלך בן, ותקרא שמו שמואל, כי מאדוני שבתי. ויעל האיש אלקנה בכל ביתו, לזבוח לאדוני את זבח הימים לנדרו. וחנה לא עלתה, כי אמר אישה, עד יגמר הנר בראתי. וירא את פני אדוני, וישב שם עד עולם. ויאמר לה אלקנה אישה, עשי הטוב בעינייך, שבי הגומל לחוצו. ירחם אדוני פרעה, ותשב האישה ותנגב פניו, עגומה אותו. ותלדו עמם כאשר גמדו, ופרים שלושה אפחת קמח ונבל יין, ופרי בית אדוני שילה, ונער נער. וישלחו את הפר, נפשך אדוני, אני האישה, הניצבת ממך בזה, להתפלל אל אדוני, אל הנער הזה התפללתי, ויתן אדוני לי את שאלתי, אשר שאלתי מעמו, ויקם אנוכי, ושאלתי אל אדוני, כל ימים אשר היה, ושאלו אל אדוני, וישתחו שם אדוני, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו, מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, הנאמן האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל העבודה, והימים והיום השבת הזה, והיום הזיכרון הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמלוכה, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד, ברך אמת הקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. ביום הזיכרון.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Beautifully done with all those extra Shabbat insertions as well. We're going to rise now for the return of the Torah to the Ark on page 123. We just have one Torah brought back up. That will now be returned to the Ark. Page 123.
It's time
You may be seated. So I'm now going to do a sermon there. Because we have the Torah readers, we do have some of those people spaced throughout the room. I will mostly be looking at the camera once again, but I'm stealing off a glance at somebody. Well, you'll know why. There are people here. They're very, very socially distanced, way more than 6 feet apart. It's more like, in most cases, 20, even more. Sight and breath and sight. Sight through our eyes and breath through our mouths and our noses. One gives us the capacity to see and perceive things. The other, the capacity to live. Sight and breath and sight. Two topics which I will return to shortly. Let me once again say now, Hashana Tovah. Welcome to 5781 in the Jewish calendar. 2020, as if you need reminding, in the secular calendar, the Gregorian calendar. The 20th time I'll be leading high holiday services here at Temple Beth Abraham. If you were unable to join us last night for Erev Rosh Hashana, well, I introduced the theme that will be connecting all my high holiday sermons together. As most of you know, every year I try to relate all of them to a central theme. I'm going to give you a second, and no cheating if you were here last night. Don't answer, but no one can hear you anyway, so I know it doesn't matter. But what was the theme last year? Anybody? It was the lessons that I learned from the various congregations that I served in my 25-year career. Highly personal. Well, this year, the theme is, of course, COVID-19. Lessons that we can learn from the coronavirus. Because honestly, how could it be anything else? And last night I spoke about the effect that the virus has on the concept of Jewish community and synagogue communities, which I call the heart of Judaism. And today I'm going to talk about, more symbolically than physically, these other body parts: the eyes, the mouth, and the nose, the sight and breath, the breath and sight. So if I say the number 2020, what does that mean to you? These days, it usually means a long, painful sigh. It means the most painful year that most of us have ever seen or endured. It's a year that we want to reboot, right? Cancel. So much trauma. But that's not what it used to mean, or what it actually means. 2020 was a positive number. I said 2020, and you thought perfect vision, clarity, the kind that Dr. Pascal wishes we all had. Well, maybe not. He's an ophthalmologist. Maybe he wouldn't be in business if we all had 2020 vision. Sight, clarity. We often use the expression that hindsight is 2020, meaning that when we look back on a particular event, we can see it a lot more clearly than we could in the heat of the moment when we were forced to make some rather poor decisions. So hindsight is seen as 2020. That's true of everything in life, but it's perhaps especially true of the coronavirus, where we knew so little at the beginning, and we still don't know enough to conquer it, or to be able to look backward to truly have the proper perception about it. But 2020 used to be a positive number. Thinking about vision, though, and this idea of 2020 vision, how does that come into Judaism? Well, it primarily comes in through the prophets. The prophets are all about vision, but they don't look backwards with hindsight, or even at the present. They look ahead. They look forward. And their visions are alternatively bizarre, terrifying, or beautiful. It depends on the prophet. It depends on the chapter and verse. Take Ezekiel, for example. His chapter 1, one of the most bizarre visions in the entire Tanakh, the entire Bible. It's the vision of a divine chariot where the wheels are made up of various creatures. But he also has 37. Maybe that's even more bizarre. It's the valley of the dry bones, bone upon bone, flesh upon flesh. The Jewish people are physically resurrected and come to life. That's Ezekiel. Let's look at Jeremiah for just a second. His visions are terrifying because the time he lived in was terrifying. He had a front row seat to the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the Jewish people. So his vision is of a boiling pot coming from the north, which is a metaphor for Babylon, who comes to conquer the Jewish people, raise the temple, and send us into exile. Alternatively, you have Zechariah, who imagines a rebuilt temple in a rebuilt Jerusalem with a beautiful menorah, not by might, not by power, but by God's Spirit, he says. And you have Isaiah, whose visions alternate between comfort and chastisement. My favorite one is preparing a highway for God. In the biblical book, which bears his name, the first significant word is chazon, which means vision. Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amos. This is the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos. The other place where vision comes into Judaism is through Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, where Binah is considered the third highest of the sfirot, the emanations of God. It means insight, understanding, the kind that arrives after a lifetime of experience, where you can look back with 20/20 hindsight. But I'm getting a bit esoteric now. Hopefully I haven't lost you yet. I'm going to turn to the more basic breath now, and how breath comes into Judaism. And for this next part, although the words are mine, I have to credit the idea to a rabbinical school classmate of mine named Ken Carr. We were together our first year in Jerusalem. He now works as a rabbi in suburban Boston. So he reminded us that that first year of rabbinical school in Jerusalem, almost every Friday night, we would walk to the neighborhood of Baka, and we would attend the same service for Kabbalat Shabbat at a synagogue called Kol HaNishama. Beautiful service there with tremendous ruach, amazing singing. And they derived their name from the last line of Psalm 150, Kol HaNishama Tahalel Yah, Hallelujah, which means, let every living soul praise God. But the word nishama, which I just translated as soul, can also mean breath. So it could alternatively mean, let us praise God with all our breath. Now in the middle, well actually not in the middle, as we got toward the end of the service, the rabbi, Levi Kelman, would take a dramatic pause. He would lift his arms about so high, and he would say, deep breath in Hebrew, Nishama Amuka, deep breath. The idea being that we are exhaling all the angst, all the tsuras, all the problems of the past week, and inhaling the beauty of Shabbat. And then there'd be an even more dramatic pause. And then from each corner of the room, slowly, quietly at first, and then at full throttle, in multi-part harmony and rounds, you would hear the words, that last line of Psalm 150. Kol HaNishama Te'alel Yah, Hallelujah. Kol HaNishama Te'alel Yah, Hallelujah. And I can still hear the congregation singing in my mind. I can still hear the rabbi saying, deep breath, Nishama Amuka. Well, these past 6 months, we were reminded that taking a deep breath is not something that anyone can ever take for granted. It started when COVID-19 started, and we didn't have enough ventilators to keep people breathing. And many people died alone in hospital rooms, gasping for their last breath. I can't breathe, they said, as doctors and nurses heroically tried to save their lives. I can't breathe, we said, for the past several weeks. While, as the President David Goodman was talking about earlier, our sky turned a color orange we'd never seen. The smoke was so thick that if you were outside for the majority of the day, it's the equivalent to your lungs of smoking 4 packs of cigarettes. I can't breathe, we said. I can't breathe, George Floyd said, while for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a police officer had his knee on his neck and literally choked the breath out of him. And his death seemed to not just be his alone, for it was symbolic of the choking that our society has done to the Black American community and the deaths of many innocent people. And I can't breathe became the new watchword of the Black Lives Matter movement. It was held up on signs and shouted at protests. I can't breathe because it seemed that the breath of Black men did not matter to our society. I can't breathe. What is the Jewish response? We know there is a social justice response, but that's actually not what I'm talking about, although not exactly at least. What about breath? What does Judaism have to say about breath? And for that, I direct you to the very first prayer that I read this morning. I began the service with a midrash from the Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin, which talks about the creation of humanity. How is humanity created? How is the first human being created according to this midrash? And really according to at least one of the versions in Genesis? With the breath of God. God blows the divine breath into the nostrils of Adam. And human life becomes animated. And so the Midrash asks, what is this meant to teach us? And it gives three separate but equally important answers. Answer number one, to teach us that to destroy a single life is to destroy an entire world. Because when you destroy a life, you not only destroy that life, you destroy nothing less than the breath of God. Answer number two, to teach us that we all descend from a common ancestor, so that no one can say to anyone else, my ancestor is greater than yours. So your skin color, your race, your ethnicity, your physical appearance does not matter, because we all come from the same source. We are all created with the breath of and in the image of God. And answer number three, although we are all created with the image of God, it works differently for God than it does for humans. For a human king could stamp his image into a coin, and all the coins will come out the same. But with God, we are all stamped with the divine image. And yet we all come out different, unique, beautiful, individual. I'm going to repeat those three answers once again. To destroy a single life is to destroy an entire world, including the image and breath of God. We are all descended from a common ancestor, so no one can say that my ancestor is greater than yours. And we are all created with the image of God, yet each of us is uniquely beautiful. We are all Adam. We are all from the original human being, all stamped with the image of God, all created with the breath of God, but unique and beautiful. Sight and breath, breath and sight. In this challenging year ahead, 5781, when you use your eyes and your vision doesn't see what you want your eyes to see, well then we must use our breath to change, first of all, ourselves, and eventually our planet. So that when we are able to gather together in person in 5782 and 5783 and 5790 and 6000, we will use our breath to praise Hashem, to say, Kol hanishama tahalel Yah. Let every living soul praise you, O God. Kol hanishama tahalel Yah. Let us praise God with all our breath. Kol hanishama tehalel Yah. Hallelujah. Kol hanishama tehalel Yah. Shana Tova Umetuka. Our service continues now. I'm going to take a pan around the room and see some of the faces who are here. And Hazanit Yael is going to lead us in Musaf, which is also significantly abbreviated. We are right on schedule, shockingly. Our Musaf, I want to make sure I get situated, and I'm telling you what I told our Chazan. So we're going to begin with the Chatzi Kaddish, but we're only going to be doing this Amidah out loud, and we are going to be jumping around to a certain extent. So we're going to begin with there's an immediate skip because the Chatzi Kaddish is actually on page 123, and then we jump right to page 141. Chatzi Kaddish 123, Amidah 141.
Please
rise.
Vitadar, vitale, vitalal shmei kudsha, rihu, leila, min kol berchata v'shirata, tush berchata v'nechemata, dami iran, be'yom Abraham, Eloshia, Me'al Kel Chaim Bechesed, Me'aye Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofem Olim, Umahatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Mihamocha Baal Levurat, Umidom Elav, Melech Mehimitu Mechayem, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Mihamocha, Aharachamim, Zofer Yetzurah, Lechaim Berachamim, V'nemanatah, V'hachayot Metim, Baruch atah Adonai, V'chayei hametim. Uvechein lepata lekedusha, ki ata Elohim v'elchocha v'sameach. Netanen tokef kedushat hayom, ki hu no'am v'ayom. Ot naseh malchutecha, ve'yimon b'chesed kisecha, v'teshev alav bemet, v'teshev alav bemet. Emet ki ata udayan u'mochiach v'yodei aven, V'foten, v'sofer u'moneh, v'tizkor kol hanishkachot, v'tiftach et sefer zichrono, me'alav yekarev v'chotam yad kol adam bo, u'v'shofar gadol yitaka. Od mamadaka yishama, u'malachim yechafezun, v'chil rada yochezun, v'yomru hine yom hadin, livkod al tzvam arohom badin, כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין, וכל באי עולם יעברו לפניך בפני מרום, כבקרת רועה דרור, מעביר צאנו תחת שבטו. Hein ta'bir v'tizkor v'timneh v'tivkod nefesh bochai v'tachtok yitzma v'chol bria v'tichtov ekzar dinam berosh Hashana yikatevun u'beyom Zom Kippur yechatevun Rosh Hashana yikatevun, u'biyom Zom Kippur yechatevun. Kama yavorun, v'chama yibarehun, v'yichyeh, u'miyamut. Mi v'kitzo, u'mi lo v'kitzo, mi va'esh u'mi v'mayim, mi Ubiom Som Kippur Yechateinu, Berosh Hashana Yikateinu, Ubiom Som Kippur Yechateinu. Mivarash umi v'magefa mi v'chanika umi v'haskila mi v'haskila. Berosh Hashana Yikateinu, Ubeyom Som Kippur Yechateinu. Berosh Hashana Yikateinu, Ubeyom Som Kippur Yechateinu. Yanua Umiyanua Niashki Umi Torah Nishaleh Umi Yaser Miani Utefila, utzedaka, ma'virin et roham hazera.
Hashana is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many will pass on, and how many will be born? Who shall live? Fire, and who by water, who by sword, and who by beast, who by hunger, and who by thirst, who by earthquake, who by plague, who will be strangled, and who will be stoned, who will be at peace, and who will be troubled, who will be serene, who will be disturbed, who will be tranquil, and who will be tormented, who will be impoverished, and who will be enriched, who will be brought low, and who will be raised up. But teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah, repentance, prayer, and charity have the power to transform the harshness. I'm going to close the ark now, and we'll do the bottom line on 144, right into the Kedusha on 145. So we remain standing.
עשה למען שמך וקדש שמך ומקדיש שמך בעבור כבוד שמך הנערץ והנקרא. כסוצייה צרפי קודש המקדישים שמך הקודש. דרי מלכים דרי מטה הכתוב ביד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו כבודו מלא עולם ושרתיו שולים זה לזה איה מקום כבודו Mata Baruch Yomeinu, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo, U'yifem berachamim, ve'yachonam, Ham Yachadim Shemo, Erev HaBoker, V'chol Yom Tamid, Hamayim V'yahava, Shema Omerim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashlienu, Berachamav Sheni, V'nei kol chai, V'olachem le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adir Adirenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Madir Shimcha b'kol haaretz, V'Adonai v'melech ha'kol haaretz, Hayom Hafui Adonai Echad U'shmo Echad, U'v'direi Kodshecha Katuv Le'or, Yiloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohayim Sion, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. V'shikach Eloheinu v'kinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, Ki HaMelech gadol v'kadosh ata, Hamol ha'masecha v'tismach ha'masecha, V'yomru lecha chosecha, V'tzadecha musecha, Tukdash Adon al kol ma'asecha.
We're in the middle of page 146. We're just going to do Aleph, the paragraph Aleph on that page from this beautiful piyut.
Ha'ochez beyad midat mishpat, ha'ochez midat mishpat, v'chol v'chol maminim, maminim, v'chol v'chol maminim, shehu emunah, ha'bochen u'vodeh, Gintei nistarot, Ha'bochen u'vodeh, Gintei nistarot, V'chol v'chol maminim, maminim, V'chol v'chol maminim, shehu bochen kelayot, Hagoel mimavet, Ufodem nishalchat, Hagoel mimavet, Ufodem nishalchat, V'chol v'chol maminim, maminim, V'chol v'chol maminim, shehu goel chazak.
Page 151, we finished the Kedusha part. I haven't sat you down yet because of the amount of stuff we're skipping. You'll be standing again in just another minute or two. So
ותהילות התרם אל בדך, ומסך בהר ציון משכן כבודך, ובירושלים עיר קודשך, כבצע בדברי קודשך, אם לא חרב לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, מאלוה מבלעדיך. ככתוב באדוני צבאות במשפט, והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך הקדוש.
All right, we're now going to go to page 154. This next section, it has 3 sections in it, 3 themes. Mafliot Zichronot Shofarot, which means sovereignty or kingship, remembrance, what I was talking about last night, and Shofar, which really means revelation. And when it's not Shabbat, you blow Shofar after all 3. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, except we'll actually only be blowing it after the last one because of the technicalities of the way things are. You also may have noted that we skipped the main shofar service. Every conservative synagogue and all Orthodox synagogues, the shofar is not blown on Shabbat. So you're going to have to stay with us tomorrow. But this is a big deal we're doing right now anyway, on 154. It's the Aleinu, but it's not the Aleinu that comes at the end of the service. This is the great Aleinu. It was written for this specific service on Rosh Hashana. It's the only time in the Jewish tradition that we bow down to the ground. Like, I'm going to get up by the ark, I'm going to lie down. On a normal Rosh Hashana, a whole bunch of you would be joining with me on the bima. Please don't do that. Find a space in the congregation if you want to lie down on the ground. We normally do not do that, but it is an exception because on Rosh Hashana, we're thinking about the sovereignty of Hashem, the sovereignty of our God. Page 154.
ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו בכל המונם ואנחנו משתחווים ומודים. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש
Right, that is the Great Aleinu and the Malchuyot portion. We're going to go to, we'll conclude it with the final blessing of that particular section on 157, the bottom of the page. Wait, no, I'm in the wrong, sorry, that's the wrong spot. Where's the, oh no, that's it. That's it.
ותהל ליבנו לעבדך באמת, כי אתה אלוהים אמת מברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל.
just a taste of the Zikronot portion on page 162. Kizocher, middle of the page.
כי זוכר כל הנשלחות אתה ומעולם, ואין שכחך לפני כיסא כבודך, ועקדת יצחק לזרעו היום ברחמים תזכור. ברוך אתה אדוני זוכר הברית.
Amen. And the last section of this part, 166, Shofarot, Revelation.
כי אתה שומע שופר ומאזין תרועה אין דומה לה. ברוך אתה אדוני שומע כל תרועת עמו ישראל ברחמים.
Amen. Hayom Harat Olam, the birthday of the world.
היום הרת עולם, היום ימים במשפט, יצורי עולמים, עם כבנים, עם כבנים רחמנו כרחם הבנים, ועם כבנים עינינו חטאנו יום. אשר תחננו ותעצמתנו היום קדוש.
Okay, so we're now on, we may be seated, page 167.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל תפילתם, והשבת עבודה ולדבר ביתך, אישי ישראל תפילתם, ואהבת צדקה ברצון. תהי לרצון, תמיד עבודת ישראל למלך, ותחזינה עינינו ושובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו בה, שאתה כבוד אדוני אלוהינו, אוהב אותנו ללמד, צורך חיים למגן אישנו, אתה ולדור הדור. ספר תהילתך, חיים צמאים בידך, ומשתתפים תודה, ונשתתפו עמנו ולמדך. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, מרחם תהילתם וחסדך, לעולם קיווינו לך. ועל כולם יתברך ויתרומם שמך מלכנו, תמיד לעולם ועד. אבינו מלכנו, זכור רחמך, וכבוש כעסך, וכל הדבר בחרב רעב, ושבי ומשחית בעוון, ושמר מגפה ופגרה, וכל מחלה, וכל תקלה, וכל קטטה, וכל מיני פרעניות, וכל גזירה רעה, שנאת חינם, מעלינו ומעל כל בני בריתך, ומעולם כל העולם, וכתוב בחיים טובים כל בני בריתך, וכל החיים יודו חסדה, והללו את שמך באמת, הישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך וחנה להודות.
169.
אלוהינו ואלוהינו, ברכנו בברכה משולשת בתורה, הכתובה ידי משה עבדך, המורה מפי אהרון ובניו, כהנים הקדושך כמוהור. יברך לך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך ויעשה לך שלום. שים שלום בעולם טוב וברכה rachamim aleinu ve'al Yisrael la'anecha. Baruchenu Avinu kulanu becha be'or panecha. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Torah chayim v'ahavat chesed u'tzedaka u'bracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom v'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael v'chol עת v'chol sham yishlomecha v'sefer chayim v'racha v'shalom u'farnasa tova nizacher v'nikateh lefanecha אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום ונאמר כי וירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים לחיים טובים תכתבנו אלוהים חיים כותבנו בספר החיים הכתוב ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
We rise once again, Hayom, today, 170.
Hayom te'amseinu amen. Hayom te'barcheinu amen. Hayom te'gadleinu amen. Amen. Hayom tidrashenu letova amen. Amen. Hayom tiktevenu lechayim tovim amen. Hayom tishma shavatenu amen. Amen. Hayom tekabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu amen. Hayom titmechenu b'mimsikecha amen. 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 Amen.
We can be seated.
כהיום הזה תביאנו, שעשינו שמחים בבניין שלם, כך כתוב היה נביאיך, אביותים אל הר קודשי, ושמחתים בבית תפילתי, כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל עמים, וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום, ויהיה לנו לכל ישראל עד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Amen. Kaddish Shalom, page 171.
יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה.
Amen.
Vilma directed, Yamit Mahuted, Hayakona Vilmakona Payed of Beit Israel, Bagalav is Makari Meru.
Amen.
Yesh Rabba Mevora,
Leolam Lo Leomaya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach Yishabach, Yikar from Amina said, Yitagar Vitalevita Lashmir Kudisha.
Rehu.
Le'ela, Kobe Katav Shirata, Jushbakata Venepamata, Damiram Yomavim Meru.
Amen.
Tikabel Slotun Vajon, the Israel, Adamo Bohon Yishmaya Veimmeru.
Amen.
Yehesh Lama Rabbi Shamaya, the Haim Alenu Vako Israel Veimmeru.
Amen.
Oh, se shalom Imramakuya, se shalom Hallelujah, Israel. Yaida, 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 yaida.
We're on page 172, Ein Keloheinu, which I'll lead. Doesn't need, maybe need some water, I don't know. No? You're okay? Okay, I thought, because I would have gone and gotten you something. You could lead it if you're okay. Ein Keloheinu, 172.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Michaeloheinu, Michadoneinu, Michaemalkeinu, Michaemoshienu, Nodeloheinu, Nodeladoneinu, Nodelemalkeinu, Nodelmoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shakiru, Avoteinu, Lefanecha, Ketoret Hasamim, Yaidai, Dai, 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 Yaidai, Dai, Yaidai, Dai, Yaidai, Dai, 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 Yaidai, Dai, 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 Dai.
We rise for the Aleinu once again, page 173.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tei gdula l'yotzer preshi, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo asamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gohor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, l'ifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, she'unot hashamayim yosed haaretz, u'moshav yitkara b'shamayim imal, u'shchina tuzo, v'godlei meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efesu latov, kakatu b'torato, v'yadatayim v'hashavotah, elevalecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim imal, ve'al haaretz mitachat einod, einod. Takatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimlech olam va'ed, v'nemar b'chaya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
We may be seated. You may be seated, and I'm now going to read a list now of those in our community whose yortzites occur during the coming week, because it is also Shabbat, and that is our practice here. We're thinking especially today those whose yortzites: Arthur Adler, Abraham Bauer, Avram Berkovich, Norma Berkovich, Rosalie Barron, Emma Bolton, George Bruder, Mary Gilday, Henry Glasser, Ida Gold, Isidore Gottlieb, Ruth Jenger, William Kestenblatt, Jack Cobell, Gertrude Primerman, Nathan Kurtz, Regina Lazar, Jacob Leeson, Eli Levis, Ann Miller, Nuda Oak, Albert Reingold, Bertha Rothman, Ilse Saunders, Wilhelmine Saunders, Joseph Schwartz, Samuel Shapiro, Benny Silverman, Lillian Silverman, Kenneth Dean Simon, Minnie Teverow, Sidney Tuckman, Pearl Weiner, Samuel Weiss, Pauline Wolf, Bella Wolf. We are in the recent days, we're thinking of Charles Sims and Brenda Maltz, and definitely the Jewish world and our nation mourns the passing of the great Ruth Bader Ginsburg, an incredible Jewish female role model. Great loss for our society. The memories of all who are with us, we ask anyone who wishes to join me in the Mourner's Kaddish to do so now. It's on page 174. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alman yivrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon uvyomecha v'chayechon Beit Yisrael v'gala v'zman kari v'himeru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach leolam v'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yikramam v'yipaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach shmei kudsha v'yorichu. La'ela la'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroma Hu Yaseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Just a couple of announcements. Our youth service is Zoom only, and you should have a link already if you will be a part of that. It's 1 p.m. with Susan Simon. Tomorrow, we reconvene at 9:30 for our second day Rosh Hashana services, which will include the blowing of the shofar. Tashlich, we're not gathering together as a large community, even outdoors, we're too big. So, however, it's not today anyway. Traditionally, when Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat, you move Tashlich to the second day. That's the ceremony where we cast our breadcrumbs into the water, symbolically leaving our sins behind for the year. Yasher Koach, and thank you to everyone who helped lead the service today, starting with Chazani Yael Krieger, our Shacharit doctor, Mark Fickus, and his daughter, Gal Fickus, for chanting Haftarah. Our amazing teen Torah readers, Natalie Mendelson, Aurora and Amalia Dornhelm Campbell, Hattie Gutkin, Tamar Brinus, Shayna Silverswide, Jonah Abrami, and Ari Goldberg. Also want to thank David Goodwin for his remarks today, and just everybody who helped put this together. And shockingly, we're within 5 minutes of, I wouldn't say the estimated time, it was more the hoped for time. So anyway, thank you for joining us, and we will conclude with Adon Olam on page 175.
Adon Olam asher malav b'terem kol yetzer nivra le'enasar b'kefso kol hazan halev shemo nikra ve'acharei kiblot hakol levado yivlot nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'en sheni l'hamshilo le'hakira L'lirei shik l'likach l'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu eli ve'chai go'ali ve'tzor eli ve'yetzara ve'hu nisi umanos li ve'nakasi ve'yom ekra ve'yado akiruchi ve'etishan ve'ayira ve'imruchi yevi'ati Adonai li ve'lo yira.
Shana Tova Tikatevu. May it be a sweet new year. At least find a little bit of sweetness in this coming year ahead, and may you be written in the book of life. And of course, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for joining us.